Hi all, this is Dana. In this video I'm going to be talking about different kinds of fabric that you can use for your cross-stitch and also embroidery projects. So there are three main types of fabric. There's Aida cloth, and there is Evenweave cloth, and there's linen. There's a lot of varieties of these, but those are the three main ones that you'll find stitchers use. You'll see occasionally people using something different, like maybe like a cotton or something like a burlap or something like that. But yeah, the Aida, Evenweave, and linen are your three main ones that you'll hear a lot about, and that's usually what's called for in most cross-stitch patterns. So the first one up is Aida, and I've got some here. So Aida is neat. It's blocks of threads. So you can see here, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. So you can see it's actually made up of strands of threads that create little blocks in the middle. So this is a really good fabric for beginners if you're just starting out with cross stitch, because the holes are so easy to see. It's also usually tends to be a little bit stiffer. It's just a test piece of fabric I was using for something. So this is what's called it's the Michael's Loops and Threads variety. So if you go to Michael's shops and they'll have tubes, like rolls of fabric, this is what this is. You can see it's a little bit stiff. You can see it's left the hoop mark in it. That comes out just by washing it and ironing it. But yeah, you can see it's actually quite stiff to work with, whereas something like this is Aida as well. This is Zweigart Aida. It's a German company. They make beautiful fabrics. So you can see this is a lot more pliable and a lot softer to stitch with. So this is what I used for my Spirited Animals collection on my website. Whereas this one's really good for quick little projects because it's not that expensive and it is quite commonly available. The Zweigart, you tend to have to go to needle workshops, or you can get it online places like Charting Creations or 123stitch.com or So and So. I'll put some links to those shops in the description below, and you can get these kinds of beautiful Aida fabrics. So you can see the holes in this one are a little bit more distinct than in the Zweigart, but the Zweigart is a lot more pliable. So this is 14 count. That means it's 14 stitches to the inch. That's normal for what most beginners start with, although many intermediate and advanced stitchers also prefer 14 count because it is easier to see the holes and to work with. Alright, and there's also different kinds of specialty Aida. So I'll show you this here. This is Charles Craft, which is DMC. So this is called Fiddler's Cloth or Fiddler's Aida. And it's basically an oatmeal Aida, but this is actually really nice. So, like, it seems stiff at first, but actually when you start working with it and your hands start touching it, it actually gets quite soft and pliable. So it's really neat. It gives a really nice rustic look to patterns. So I use this for my Adorned Life collection. It's like a bunch of like pin cushions and things like that. So that was actually really nice for that because I wanted the pieces to have kind of a vintagey look. And so this was actually really, really nice to work with. I actually got this on Amazon quite inexpensively. Yeah, and it's made by Charles Craft. So there's that kind of specialty Aida. You can get, this is from Zweigart. I just got this. This is amazing. This is linen Aida. So I'll be talking about linen fabric separately, but you can see the texture of it. It's really cool. So this is actually made out of pure linen thread, but it's actually been woven like Aida, so it's a lot easier to stitch with than a normal linen fabric, which I'll go into in a moment. And you can get all kinds of hand-dyed Aida. You can hand-dye Aida yourself like you would any other fabric as well. So that's the Aida. So it's good to start with. The next up is what's called Evenweave, and you can see I've got a bunch of different colors here. This is it's called Purple Passion. This is also from Zweigart Fabrics, and you can see the count on this. The thread count is a lot higher. This is 25 count, so 25 stitches to the inch if you're going to be stitching over each individual thread. A lot of people with Evenweave and linen fabrics will stitch what's called over two, so let's go over two threads. And I'll show you that. And this is just a little project I did for a friend. I'll zoom in here, make sure it's focused. So you can see in these stitches here, you can see it's actually, each cross is actually going up 2 holes instead of 1. Like you can go over 1, but it's going to be really small and you're going to end up, what you might want to use over 1 if you're doing a really, really big project and say you can't find fabric wide enough for it, then you would go over 1. But for the most part, these higher count fabrics, you're going to stitch over 2. Another advantage of stitching over 2 is you can do fractional stitches. It's hard to see in here, but this is back stitch this way, and then there's actually a little diagonal stitch here that goes across to help fill in this little part of the letter here. So it's called a fractional stitch, and it's a lot easier to do on the higher thread count fabrics like the Evenweave and the linen, just because you've already got a hole there, so you're not trying to puncture the center of your block of Aida. Like if you're trying to go through the center of this block to make a fractional stitch, it's possible, but it's a little tricky with a tapestry needle because the tapestry needle is not really meant to go through the middle, it's meant to go just through the holes. So it is possible, but it is a lot easier when you're using the Evenweave fabric. So that's that. So this is a Zweigart fabric. I've got a cream and I've got a nice cream one here. I use these all for the recent Royal Proclamations collection. And I'll put links to all the collections in the description below as well, so you can actually see the differences in the fabrics. This is Monaco 28 count, so it's a little bit higher thread count than the Zweigart here. So the Zweigart's called Lugana. That's just the name of the 25 count from Zweigart. This is the 28 count Monaco fabric from Charles Craft. You can see it's a little bit finer. But with Evenweave, you can see all the threads are really, really even. They're all identical. The space in between each hole is totally identical. Evenweaves tend to be made out of cotton or cotton blend fabrics. And, you know, it's called Evenweave because it is so consistent across the whole fabric. So lots of people like Evenweave, and it's really, really nice to stitch with. And then next up is linen, and I've got some examples here to show you. Let's get everything out of the way. So this is on Cashel linen, so this is really, really beautiful stuff, also from Zweigart. My local needlework shop only stocks Zweigart because they're one of the better companies, and they've got a huge range of colors and such. So these are both Cashel linen. Obviously this is black, and obviously it's a little bit trickier to do, but you can see with this one, it's got a ton of fractional stitches, like all these little diagonal stitches. They're actually all fractional stitches, so this is being stitched over to, same as this one. This one doesn't have any fractional stitches at all. This is just a pattern I got off the Antique Pattern Library. I'm just stitching for myself. So this is like a delicate beige linen. Excuse me. So linen is actually from the flax plant, and you can see it's got a really nice sort of gentle sheen to it. Like it's not shiny at all, but it's got a really, really nice texture. But you can see how some of the threads are a little bit thicker, some are a little bit thinner. Sometimes it'll have what's called a slub, which is like a little area where it's like one little section is just a little bit thicker. And that's actually totally natural. That's part of the beauty of linen. So that's the main difference between linen and Evenweave is linen. It is a little bit more natural looking, it's less manufactured looking, but it does depend as well. I mean, if you're using a really, really high thread count linen, like this is Zweigart's Newcastle linen, this is 40 count, so you can see how fine that is. But yeah, you see the little slubs. But yeah, that texture of the linen is what makes it so beautiful. It's got a really, really nice sheen to it. So linen is really nice to work with. It is obviously more expensive than using Aida, but if you're doing a big project or you want to do something really special, then I would definitely recommend looking at linens and seeing what you can either get at your local shop if you have one, or order in. Most shops can order in a huge variety of fabrics that you probably don't even know exists. One thing to note though too about linen is it does crease a little bit more easily when you're working with it. Like I'm stitching this one in hand, so I'm just rolling up the edge and then just stitching it without a hoop. So you can see it does get creased a little bit more evenly. It irons out fine though. I mean, if you own linen clothing, you know that linen is a little bit more temperamental in the fact that it does crease easily. But yeah, it is fairly easy to take care of as well. It's nice durable fabric. It's really, really beautiful. I really like working with this. And, excuse me, I'll also show you some specialty fabrics. So with the linen, actually here's some other linens here in different colors. I'll quickly show you. So there's just some other colors I was testing. So there's a nice gray there, and then there's the beige one I'm using for the peacock. With the linen, there's, actually with the Evenweave and Aida as well. It depends on where you're buying it from, but there's all kinds of neat patterns. Like this is 32 count Evenweave, and it's so cute. This is from Zweigart. They just sent me some samples, which is fantastic because I think they're so cute, and like little polka dots. Again, this is 32 count Evenweave, and it's got different colors available. I got some neat marbled type ones here. Got some more marble one here. So you can get all kinds of really beautiful textures and colors. You can even get like sparkles, like a lot of fabrics have sparkles. This is a linen that's got sparkles woven into it, which is amazing. This is actually a linen Aida. This is 18 count linen. So obviously it's not pure linen because of the metallics running through it, but it is super cool. I'm really looking forward to trying something out with that. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, you can get good fabrics from your local needlework shop or Charles Craft, which is DMC, has a lot of good selection. Zweigart, you can search and see where they're available or where to order them online. Charting Creations, 123stitch, soandso.com, or sorry, .co.uk. They can all order in any of these fabrics. Also for hand-dyed fabric, there's a company called Fiberlicious, and I'll put a link to that as well in the description. I haven't used their fabrics, but some of my customers have recently been using them, and they look amazing. Like there's one that a customer's using right now, and it's like this color. It's similar to this color, maybe a little bit deeper purple, but it's got sparkles all through it, which is really, really cool, and her pattern's coming up looking really, really neat. So that's pretty much it for now. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments section below. And if you'd like to access the free patterns on the site, you can click on the little pop-up in the top right, and then you can sign up to get instant access to those free patterns that are on my site. And I hope you have a great day. Bye for now!